Death by Bungie.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Death by Bungie. This is a video that I've been waiting to make here for quite a while. I owe you this video in a sense that I posted a video a couple of months ago about an injured doe, the doe that had those neck injuries here on this property, and I wanted to do a follow-up video to that. I've been waiting on some information back from the Game Commission and also waiting to see if I saw additional pictures of her that I could share with you. So I wanted to get all that stuff in order first, but I finally got around to making this video. I think we waited long enough, and I'm going to share with you in this video what I have learned and what I found out. I want to start by telling you that since I made that video at the end of June, I've had exactly no pictures of her, of that doe. No additional pictures. So my guess is that it was a short-lived injury and she died shortly after those pictures were taken. Now in the pictures, again, you look at those pictures, she does not look like she's in pain, that I can tell anyway. How do you really tell? But she's feeding at a mineral site, and I think I shared some pictures of another mineral site she had been at as well. So she's going to a couple of mineral sites using those. Maybe she's feeding in the food plots, I don't know. But she'd been to a couple of mineral sites using those trophy rocks. And so that tells me she was trying to take care of herself, trying to ingest some minerals to keep herself going. Also tells me she's able to move her mouth and sort of swallow that sort of thing, I would think. Although the neck injury appears to me that we're looking at her exposed trachea, esophagus, all that good stuff, striations of muscle, the whole bit. So it looks pretty bad if you ask me. No pictures since then, so I'm not sure what happened to this doe. As one of the people had suggested, she's probably food for birds by this point, and I think that's probably right. There's a cycle in the woods and in nature, and that's just the way it is. She probably has fallen and succumbed to that cycle and has been buzzard food or whatever else have you. So I've had no pictures since then. Some of the comments, and I want to go through, I'm not going to go through each comment, but I will tell you generally what those comments were. Some people I had suggested in there, and I thought maybe it was a gun injury, a firearm injury, that she had been shot in the neck. A bullet that grazed the neck might have opened that up, become infected over a period of time, and made that kind of injury. Other people agreed with me that that was a possibility. Now, again, this is June, so there shouldn't be anybody inflicting firearm injuries on deer anytime. I mean, it would have had to have been 6 months earlier, back in the previous December, November, something like that, maybe. Some people, though, thought that might be a possibility. Maybe we've got poachers or something like that we got to worry about. I don't know. Mange and EHD came up. Some people had suggested that might be the culprit. Frankly, looking at the mange, does some funny stuff. If you've seen pictures of mange-infected animals, coyotes, bears, whatever, they do look pretty heinous. I mean, it gets pretty bad. I wouldn't rule that out. This doesn't look like EHD to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, we don't really have EHD here. This is northeastern Pennsylvania. No outbreaks of that I'm aware of. We're not dealing with that. There is some discussion of CWD, that sort of thing. But EHD and CWD don't look like this. They don't expose the interior organs, I don't think. Not expert on that stuff. I'm reading all the time on those subjects. Right now, I don't think I'm in a position to say, though, that this doesn't seem to look like EHD or CWD to me. Tumors and warts. Somebody brought that up on there, too, in the comments, and I thought that's not a bad guess, because I do have one doe that I routinely see, and maybe I can throw some pictures up here. One doe that I routinely see, and she has warts on the side of her neck. These big tumors, big things that are blown up. And they could be nothing more than ticks, believe it or not, ticks that have sort of attached themselves and blown up. They could be any number of things. But that is something that I do see and something I am somewhat conscious of. So I do keep an eye out for that sort of thing in my trail camera pictures. And somebody suggested that she was hit by a car, maybe. Maybe that was a possibility. Not a bad guess. That does all kinds of odd damage. Okay, going back 4 years or so, I had a doe wandering around here who had a handicapped leg, and I watched her 2 seasons in a row. She seemed to get around just fine. She was still hanging out with other does, moving around just fine. She fed. I watched her feed several times. Footage that I got was actually during spring gobbler season. Got some footage of her up close and saw her in person. But I had plenty of trail camera pictures and watched that doe for a period of time. Much more than, over a couple of years, much more than this particular deer. But Then it could have been a car accident. That's certainly not outside the realm of possibilities. I hadn't thought of that. So it was a very good guess. I thought it was interesting because it's one of the reasons I like doing this stuff. I post it up here. People give me their feedback, some stuff that I didn't think about. I think about this stuff all the time. I think about deer all the time. I think about hunting and crossbow hunting all the time. I think about making these videos all the time. But every time that I post something like this, I get feedback and I just love it. You can't beat it. It's just another way to share all of this stuff. It's like having hundreds of hunting buddies to talk to all the time about this stuff, so you can't beat that. Then, of course, there were many people that talked about predators as far as the comments are concerned. And boy, am I sympathetic to that. That is high on my list. Predators are always something I'm concerned about. And I want to tell you, too, I'm wearing my Los Pollos Hermanos t-shirt for this video. And it's kind of appropriate because I'm a Breaking Bad fan. I love that show. And so that's why I'm wearing the shirt. That's why I have the shirt. But the chicken part of that, we have now lost all of our chickens. Frost, my daughter's last remaining chicken, was reduced to a pile of feathers by the neighbor's dogs, by a coyote, by a fox, by some predator, I don't know what. In the middle of the day, out there in the yard, and then she was no more. So we have now lost every chicken. I'm not getting new chickens until I have a fence that will keep out all of those pests. And then I only have to worry about hawks and stuff like that. And even eagles around here. We have to worry about that now. So there's always something to be vigilant about with those predators, and I was concerned about the predators and concerned about the predators with regard to this doe, and that's where my mind goes right off the bat. So talking about the predators, I got all kinds of feedback from folks and suggestions about what kind of predator it might have been, and that was consistent, to be honest with you. That's the reason my mind goes right to predators, is because I have picture after picture after picture of predators right here in northeastern Pennsylvania, right here in the Kingdom of Bungie, right around the time of this doe showing up with those injuries. I have predators throughout on my trail cameras, and I can go through some of them here. Really nice sized bear. I buy a bear license every year, and I will happily take a shot at that bear, or any bear if I see a bear. But I've got some nice bears. There's bears wandering around here. So bears, could they do this injury? They certainly could. An adult doe that's mobile and healthy, I think, could escape a bear pretty easily, unless it just got in the wrong, got cornered or something happened funny like that. So that certainly is one possibility. Coyotes. A couple people guessed coyotes. Not going to argue with you there. A couple people pointed out, and I think correctly, that coyotes attack from behind. But I think that it's important to remember the difference with coyotes. I don't think that they're looking to attack from behind necessarily. Coyotes they tend to surround their game, from what I understand. And as the deer's backing up, the coyotes that happen to be behind the deer will attack the deer. And then that deer will turn around, and then the coyotes that are now behind the deer will attack the deer. And they just keep turning them that way. So I don't know that, they just attack from behind because there happens to be many of them. And they hunt in packs. Okay, so wolves and coyotes. Fortunately, we don't have wolves here. Coyotes, hunting packs, that might be an injury. I think an injury like this, coyote certainly could have done it. But I do agree with the assessment that if this doe was a victim of coyotes, it would show injuries probably all around its body. Usually you'll see deer and they're bitten everywhere by the time they've been attacked by a coyote, something like that. But I do have a lot of coyotes showing up here all of a sudden. I have numerous pictures. I've been running trail cameras since 2009, as you know, if you've been following Death by Bungie. Running trail cameras almost all year long since 2009, almost without exception. And during that time, the first several years, I got coyotes every other year. Maybe I'd get a picture of a coyote, maybe a couple coyotes every few years. And then this year, in 2017, I've had 5 pictures, separate pictures of coyotes, separate incidents of coyotes on different dates, like 5 times. So there's definitely a coyote presence here now like never before. So totally good guess, right? I see that that's high on my list too. On the topic of dogs and coyotes, the neighbor's dogs. Right around this time, in that same location, I've got 2 of the neighbor's dogs running through here. Now, I don't recognize these dogs. I don't know whose dogs these are. I do not recognize them. I don't see them along the road when I drive by the neighbor's houses. They may have been visiting with their owners over the weekend. We get a lot of seasonal people here and weekend people here. and that may be what it is. So that kind of thing, you know, those dogs are heading through my food plot, but they're also, one of the pictures, the dog's carrying a bone right through the apple orchard by the 100-year-old apple tree. So these dogs have been on the area. Could they do something like that? Yeah, they're probably high on my list also as the ones that are picking off the chickens. So, I mean, you know, that's nothing a fence won't fix down the road. So we'll deal with that all in due time. So that's the end of that. I think, you know, that was the other pick. Oh, someone also suggested that it was a bobcat. And what a good guess. Because, and I'm not, it amazes me that I'm getting these pictures. I get bobcats. Once a year I get a good bobcat picture. But I have a bobcat picture, not at the same mineral site. It's a different mineral site, about 300 yards away probably. But a nice big bobcat at that mineral site. Can you believe that? So yeah, there's bobcats here too, and that's a good-sized bobcat. Now, some of the discussion was that a bobcat would attack the throat, and I think that's probably true. Bobcats don't hunt in packs, right? Bobcats are cats like to hunt alone, and they hunt by ambush, and they hunt and hit the jugular because they're smart enough to know that if you want to kill something, you get them in the jugular. So cats would do that. Yeah, bobcat might try that, right? That's not a bad guess. So, I don't know. Those are all good guesses. And that summarizes, I think, the guesses about all of that. And one of the other comments that I did receive, though, was, hey, why don't you send it off to the Game Commission? Why don't you send it off to Dr. Grant Woods? I love Dr. Grant Woods. I watch every one of his videos here on YouTube and have a lot of respect for him. I tried to send it to him, but the only way to do it was like through the Facebook page, and I was trying to do it on my phone, and I just gave up on that, so I didn't actually do that. But I did forward the pictures to our Pennsylvania Game Commission, and they got back to me after their Game Commission's veterinarian had a chance to review those pictures. So I sent that off. I sent them an email. I said, hey, these are pretty gruesome pictures. I hate to send them to you. Please don't look at them if you have a weak stomach. Same warning that I'm giving you on these videos, that sort of thing. In their line of work, they should be used to this kind of stuff. But I asked them to give me some guesses about what they thought might have caused the injuries to this doe. And I only sent them 3 of the pictures, the 3 most obvious ones that I had shared with you in that previous video. And they got back to me, their veterinarian, and I'm just going to read the response here and show you that. Their veterinarian's official suggestion as to what this was: I think it is likely an oral impaction that ruptured, but I can't rule out an abscess or a fistula to the esophagus. I don't know what all that meant, so I had to go look it up. An oral impaction, basically a tooth that got infected, a tooth that was trying to come out that would have had to go through another tooth or something like that, or coming out wrong, that sort of thing. Something that got so it couldn't come through the skin and it couldn't properly descend. What I do know about deer is that they get their teeth in stages over their lifetime, just like people. You know, you get your baby teeth and all that. But deer get some teeth when they're younger, then they add teeth as they get older. So that might be a problem that can infect a deer. That can be a problem. That abscess turns into that impacted tooth turns into an infection down the road, and could it blow through the bottom of her throat if it's a bad enough infection? Oh yeah. You know, when you talk about that, the abscess that they're referring to, that's what you ever see somebody whose mouth is swollen up. Now, we go to the doctor, get that stuff fixed. Deer can't do that. A big infection like that gets all filled up, and then it bursts, right? That could bust through the skin and do that. The other thing that they're talking about is a fistula to the esophagus. Now, that could be something where she got poked with barbed wire or something like that. It could be from an injury, from a rifle or something like that. It could also be from just a natural defect in her skin. I had to look all this stuff up. I looked it all up before I shot this video to make sure I was making sense of this. So it could be any of those types of things. In other words, this is probably not a predator-caused injury, according to their veterinarian. It's probably not a human-caused injury from a car or from, or something along those lines. It could be any of those things. But it is quite possibly, according to their veterinarian, a natural problem that deer face. It could very easily be just something that this deer, just an unfortunate hand that this deer was dealt. And that's upsetting. It just shows you how rough deer have it, how rough animals have it in the wild. State of nature, right? It's just not a happy thing. So it's not a comfortable life to be a deer or to be a wild animal. So that pretty much brings it up to, again, no pictures of this deer since that time. I've received no follow-up. I did contact the Game Commission, but essentially since it's been a couple of months and I haven't seen that doe, no reason for them to follow up and actually visit the site and come here and visit or anything like that. So that's not going to happen. I think this pretty much closes our story on the injured doe. But I thank you very much for your interest on it. I thank you very much for all your comments and all your, the suggestions and everything else. And I hope you found this stuff entertaining but informative also. So maybe you get similar pictures. Please share them with me on the Facebook page if you do get them. Similar pictures to that, or if you've ever had those kinds of pictures. Keep an eye out for that stuff and just recognize that you can get infections. Deer can get infections. They can have teeth problems just like human beings. They don't have anybody to take care of that stuff, and it can lead to not just a gruesome injury like this one, but it can also lead to their death, which this one probably did. So thank you very much for watching this. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It's free to subscribe. Just get a YouTube account, click the subscribe button, and that way you'll be notified. It'll be in your subscription feed, all the new videos that come up here as far as YouTube is concerned on the Death by Bungie channel. Check out the Facebook page too. That's a lot of fun. I post trail camera pictures, most of which are much happier and nicer than this. In fact, right now I'm running a whole series, and every week I'm posting pictures of fawnage, all the fawns and stuff running around. I have a lot of fun with that stuff. So hopefully people are enjoying that. And make sure you subscribe so you can watch more episodes here on Death by Bungie. And thank you very much for watching this video, as always.